almost about that time. Right about now.
Right about now. Funk, bunk, 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 soul brother.
Maitland Ward, welcome to the Right About Now podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here.
It's so wonderful to have you. And what an interesting book. And thank you so much for your candor and candidness in your book. It's a really honest memoir. And it's sort of like a part memoir, part erotic fiction in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
You kind of
With
intend
the descriptions that I have.
Yeah. Did you intend to make it that way?
Well, I think it had to be kind of that way because so much of what I do is erotic, like like acting and stuff. So I definitely had to be honest about like what I do in my business and stuff, and as as a performer and stuff. But I tried to make it not too gratuitous. Like I tried to make it just very realistic to like what my profession is.
Yeah. And it's so interesting to get a window into your profession, both professions that you've had, sort of
Both,
the traditional side and also being on the adult side. So let's take me back to the beginning, as I was interested to learn about your childhood. You kind of a traditional childhood. I didn't realize that Long Beach, I guess back when you were growing up, not that you're that old, but was a little bit more like conservative back then.
Yes, Long Beach is, I think it's still kind of
maybe it still is. I don't know much about Long Beach.
It's not conservative in the way like there is like there's like a very artistic community and like a gay community and stuff like that. So Long Beach is not that conservative in that way, but it's called Iowa by the Sea.
That's crazy.
Because there were a lot of Iowans back in the day, like way back that were in Long Beach. But it's also I feel like it's very like Midwest kind of homey feeling, It's kind of, it's not LA. It's
definitely not LA. It's not even a suburb of LA. It's like,
no, it's not.
Like
although it's still LA County. So you could say it's LA, but really it's so distant from that.
So you're kind of a religious, like your grandma is pretty religious.
Yes, she was very religious. She's a wonderful woman, but she was so religious, and we were always taught that the rapture is coming at any moment, and you were in trouble like if you did anything bad.
Right. Well, so amidst this sort of religious thing, did you rebel a bit? Like, what was your sort of feeling?
No, I wouldn't say I rebelled, because I actually wanted to be like, I didn't want to be a bad girl. I wanted to be a good girl. So I would say rebelling in the way that I kept everything secret that I did. Like I would like anything that I did that was sexual in nature or anything that was considered bad, I would keep secret. So I guess I rebelled a little bit, but like it was all in secret.
You weren't like one of these goth girls that was like wearing lots of rings.
No, I was a good girl. I was going to church, and I was in youth group, and I was definitely like I was the good girl, but underneath it all, I was like wondering about myself, and I had bad quote unquote interests, and so I had to keep them hidden. But yeah, definitely I was.
You wrote that you wrote and you say that you had bad interests, and a lot of those interests were sexual in nature. But you don't see them as bad now, right? But back then,
no, I don't see them as bad now. But at the time, I was very like, I have to hide them. I have to be a virgin. I have to be like very good. And it was all like the religious upbringing that I had. My parents were religious. My grandmother was extra religious. Like, so I felt like I had to really live up to what her expectations of me were. So no, now I don't. I've come to terms with all of them, and I feel that they are empowering now. And I feel like I've really like freed myself from all of those limitations that I put on myself in the past.
So so you didn't grow up in LA, but you were a child actress.
Yes.
And how did you get the acting bug? How did you discover that acting was
I'd say I was a child actress, but I was really a teen actress. So I didn't do it when I was super young. So I think that was good. Yeah. Like, I always wanted to be an actress because I really found an outlet for myself where I was able to express myself in different characters and different roles. And I did it in my neighborhood, like community theater kind of thing. And I took acting classes. So it was really fun for me. And then when my braces came off, I was
You're
able
like
to
15 around, like what?
yeah,
Yeah.
15, 16, like, yeah. But it was like, yeah. My parents would be like, well, you can get a real job now, like at a fast food place or something, or you can be an actress. Let's try this.
And so
But I was
they
like,
were cool
yes,
about you being an actress, like at that.
yeah. Well, I don't even think that they really believed that I would totally succeed at first, but I got a huge part on my second audition. So I think they were like, oh, try it out for a little while. Let's see
Yeah.
what's gonna happen.
Watch what
And
you.
then it was like, whoa, I got a contract role on a soap opera when I was 16, so
Yeah,
it was,
that's incredible. So Bold and the Beautiful, right?
yes. I
Um,
really believe I got that role though, because I knew soap operas so well because I was such a fan of them in my past. I really was. And so I think I knew all the nuances that you have to do as a soap opera actress.
yeah.
So, yeah.
So what was it like once you landed that role? Did your life completely change?
Say it completely changed, but it was such a weird experience because since I had been a fan of soap operas, like to go into the reality of like the universe of soap operas, to see the sets behind the scenes and everything, I was like, it made it more special, but it also diminished it a little bit too. Cause I was like, I've seen the inner workings of like the Wizard of Oz. Like,
Yeah. And you're like,
so it
oh,
was it was a little bit disappointing, but it was also super exciting too. And in other, like in both ways. But I can't say my life completely changed. And I have to really thank my family and also the people at Bold and Beautiful, like my tutor. He was amazing. He was an old football coach from a high school, and he like had retired, and he didn't want to, like, he said, he didn't want to watch the grass grow beneath his feet. So he wanted to get into like teaching of some sort. So he was my tutor, and it was amazing. He said I was his favorite student because I really did work hard. I really did. I was interested in like education. I was interested in being a good student, but I also wanted to have fun too. And I think he had a lot of fun with me, just experiencing that whole, like, the experience of being on a soap opera through, his eyes. And
yeah. And
it
how
was
long did
great.
that last, that run on Bold and Beautiful?
It was almost 3 years.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So at that time you weren't going to high school. You didn't
I
go.
was
You were?
going half the time. I was
Wow.
like, it was amazing because I would go like 2 days a week to high school and 3 days working, or 3 days to high school and 2 days working. So
And
it
how did
was
your
so
fellow
cool.
students treat you? Were they like kind of thinking like,
You
oh,
know what? I
she's so
was
cool.
such a drama nerd beforehand that I think everybody was so surprised that I got anything.
Yeah.
Nobody would think that I would be on a soap opera. They would be like, she's in the drama. She's drama nerd.
Yeah.
I would say it was funny. The cheerleaders all of a sudden like were my best friends, and they never
Yeah,
talked to me before because I was the drama nerd. But I have to say, I did have really good friends that were really supportive of me, and that were, good to me, and believed in me, and like were true to me the whole way. But it was funny. Like, it was funny. Just certain people would be like, "Oh my God, she's on a soap opera now. We like her." It's
Yeah.
like,
And was it
yeah,
hard to date during that time for you? Like,
it was very hard. It was very hard. And it was a really interesting time for me because, like, when I was on the soap, I had guys that I was working with that were 25 and 29, and I was
wow.
16, 17. So that was a really unusual experience. And the 29-year-old, I am still he's one of my best friends, and he's great, and he treated me with like wonderfully. The 25-year-old, that kind of fucked me up a lot.
Oh, yeah. Can you share a little bit about it? Or
I can share a little bit. Looking back on it, it was really interesting. Like writing the book, it was so cathartic. Like looking back on like who I was as a person when I was so young. He took advantage of that, and he definitely like played with my mind a lot. He definitely wanted me to adore him and love him, and I didn't know what that meant at the time. I wasn't able to grasp any of it. Of course, I come from a background where I was a soap fan, and I loved the soap hunks and everything. And like, oh my God, my partner who's like this soap Adonis, I was so excited to be with him. And he really messed with my head at the time.
and this
So
is like pre Me Too. This is like
Oh, pre-me too. Yeah, absolutely.
And so like
But,
maybe now you have had an out.
I can't imagine being a 25, 26-year-old and having like a 17, 16-year-old girl or boy or whatever I am. I can't imagine doing that to them. I would feel so guilty about it. And I would feel that it was just so wrong to lead them on or to make them believe things like that weren't true. It was really bad. And it's odd because the 29-year-old guy that I was with, he was great. Like he was very
but the
precious about that.
25-year-old, not a good guy.
Yeah, no.
All right. So you eventually you leave that show and then you get this amazing role on Boy Meets World.
Yes.
And that was a big show, very famous show.
Huge.
People know that show. And that was really kind of where you kind of came into your own as an actress, right? And
yes.
Tell me a little bit.
You know, it was interesting. I loved comedy since I was like a little girl. I would watch Three's Company reruns and I'd be like, I love Jack Tripper. That's what he's so good. I love the physical comedy, but I didn't necessarily believe that I would be good at it. But I remember I did USA High was a show that I like auditioned for and I got. And I remember the casting person and the producer was like, you're really good at physical comedy and you're really good at comedy. And I was like, that was a joy in my life. Like, I couldn't believe that they were telling me that I was good at this. So when I got Boy Meets World, that was the same thing. I was just like, so excited that I was, you know, seen as a physical comedian, as somebody who's funny and who can entertain. And I didn't audition for Boy Meets World. People think, oh, you auditioned for the character Rachel. No, I was auditioning for a show called Zoe Duncan, Jack and Jane, which the producer of Boy Meets World and a lot of the production team for Boy Meets World were doing. It was a pilot. Yeah. And Selma Blair got it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because we were totally different types. They wanted like a more goth kind of type, like dark hair. Like they wanted a little more. I was too like light and green and like, you know.
Yeah.
But the producer of Boy Meets World was like, we were going to give you a holding deal for Boy Meets World because we want you to come onto the show. And it was a very exciting time.
Yeah, it's a great experience. But you were a little bit like, you felt a little bit like the odd man out, right, on that show a bit sometimes.
You know what? It was such a well-oiled machine and everybody had been on it for so long. They'd grown up with it. So like to come in, it was kind of awkward and weird, but I can't say they weren't nice to me. They were very nice to me when I came in, but it was weird. And also I was coming in as kind of this like sexualized person. Like people don't think about that when they think about Boy Meets World. But if you look back on the episodes and you examine them, you'll see, oh, wait a minute. She was definitely a more sexualized person than the other people in the show.
And are you talking about your character or are you talking about Maitland at this point?
Well, I think it's both. I think they saw me and they were like, oh, she's got the long legs and red hair and she's going to be this like sultry kind of person. And, but it definitely played out into the character. I don't think like they weren't like, it was a weird situation. It was a weird situation in the early 2000s too, for like girls. We had to be like sexual, but we had to also be virgins. It was like
that's
Britney
so
and
Britney. I was just thinking, I mean, I just saw
totally
that documentary
like she was she would be like, no, I'm a virgin, but like she was a super sexual person. Yeah.
So that was hard for you. And then you mentioned the book, like Ben Savage was sort of like very intrigued by you in a ask all sorts of questions.
Yes. I didn't take it as bad though, because he was like my younger brother. Like he was just like he wanted to know like how like I was this like what was my sex life like and what was my dating life like and and I just remember he had this Vanilla Ice poster on his door. I don't know why he did, but and I would put up my like Polaroid pictures of myself in my lingerie that I had to try on for the producers. Like
wow. The lingerie part. That was an interesting part where like
it was weird. And looking back on it, it's very weird. Go ahead though.
No, I want you to talk about it because that scene was really uncomfortable to read. Like that they wanted you to try on different lingerie, but then you had to sort of go in front of all these male producers, kind of old middle-aged guys. And like, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, like tell me about what that experience was like.
I didn't think anything of it at the time, which is shocking. And it's sad. And it's like, it's just kind of like indicative for the times. I thought that was just my job as an actress to do that, like to try on all the lingerie, because Rachel would wear lingerie, and especially in this specific episode, she wore this purple lingerie that would turn the boys on, but also like punish them too, because they were being bad boys, and she had to put them in their place. But it was awkward. I like looking back, I thought, oh, I have to try on the lingerie because that's what you do as an actress. But then I'm thinking, like, why did I have to go up to the offices like 12 times
And
to
why in
try
front of
on
the
different
guys?
pairs
Like,
of
couldn't they have,
lingerie?
like, yeah, couldn't they have had some female, like,
Yeah, why
wardrobe
couldn't we
people?
have taken, the like female wardrobe person, like couldn't she have taken pictures and shown them or something? Like it was very weird, and I think they all got really excited about it. Like it was kind of like oh, we get to see her in her lingerie coming up here,
Right.
which they didn't like do anything to me, but it was very like
It left
it
you
wasn't
with a
icky.
feeling.
If looking back on it, it was icky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
During this time, this is sort of the time in the book when you start saying that you're having some pretty wild sexual encounters. And you write that you hated it because you loved it so much.
Yes.
So can you explain that to me? Like,
Because I grew up very religious, and I grew up in a very religious home, especially with my grandmother and everything. And I was expected to be the good girl. I was expected to be like, to live up to a certain standard. I wanted to be that girl because I thought that would make me perfect and good and everybody would love me. But then I'm like, oh, I had these like wildly lustful thoughts, and I was having these experiences that I really loved, but I felt so guilty about them in the end. So it was a very conflicting time for me, like, because I was starting to march outside of my zone and like experience more stuff, but then I was like, oh, I'm scared of it, I'm bad, and I kept punishing myself because of it.
how did you
So
punish yourself?
what'd you
Like,
say?
but how did you punish yourself? Just by hating yourself?
Just
Or
by hating myself. Yeah, no, I didn't punish myself.
you weren't like
No physical way.
self-flagellating?
No,
Yeah.
no,
Okay.
just by like, yeah, just
Yeah.
like pushing my
No, I
troops
get it.
down,
Do you
but
think, I mean, this is sort of a hypothetical, but do you think if you had been raised in a more sort of open, sexually like open place, that you might not have had been the same type of person? Like,
oh yeah,
a lot of it
absolutely.
had to do
I would
with,
have been, yeah, I would, yeah, totally. And it's weird because my parents later on in life are very supportive of me.
yeah,
And I think a lot of it was they thought they should raise me a certain way, even though they're not closed-minded people necessarily. My grandma was more, but God
yeah,
rest her soul. But I think there was like certain expectations put on, like when you raise children, they have to be a certain way and all this stuff. But now they're so supportive of me. I wish we would have been that open when I was younger,
yeah. Would have been interesting to see what would have
Yeah.
happened in your career, although everything
Yeah.
kind of worked out.
It did. You know what? I actually like think about telling young people when they say, oh, things haven't worked out for me or things have gone bad. It's like, if everything went right for me, I wouldn't have a story now. I
Yeah.
wouldn't have it.
Right.
It's
such an
better to have a
interesting story.
story than to just get everything perfect for you.
Yeah. No, you have a incredibly interesting story. Around you also start writing erotic fiction, right? Like that's another outlet
Yes.
for you.
That was a big way in discovering myself. Yeah.
When did you start getting less feeling bad about yourself and more feeling like, okay, this is normal?
It's funny when I got married.
Well, we'll get to that. Yeah, I want to get to
Yeah,
that. That was
I
like,
was like, well, I felt like when I was married, I had a safe place to land at home. And then I could like kind of branch out and kind of explore myself and see like certain things that I liked and disliked and stuff. And most people would think, oh, when you got married, you'd be shut down, you couldn't do anything. But like, he's a very open-minded person. So he saw a lot in me that like how I needed to explore myself and explore my sexuality and everything. So
he's super open-minded. I mean, it's kind of amazing that you found
it
this
is.
guy, Terry.
It
What's his
is.
name? His name is Terry? No, what is his name?
Well, it's John Terrence.
John
And
Terry.
I call him Terry, yes, but he's known as John to the world. But
John
like,
Terry.
yeah, his dad was named John Thomas, so it was kind of, yeah.
How did you meet him?
I met him on Bold and Beautiful, actually, through a friend. He was meeting a friend on the set, someone he knew, and on another set. And then we kind of just like met, and we were friends for a while. Like when we kind of dated the summer that he was at school in North Carolina when we met, and I was, of course, I was like very young. I was very young.
How old were you? Like
And,
19 or 20 around this time?
yeah, like 19, something like that. Yeah. Yeah. when we first met, and then we kind of took it slow over time, but he was so supportive. Like one of the first things I remember about him, I was dating another guy
Mhm.
who at college who he was terrible. He was just a jerk, but he gave me advice for him. Like he like would tell me like, well, you should, you should talk to him like this, or he should treat you like that. And I was like,
You
that's
like,
an amazing memory.
yeah,
He gave me advice for another guy.
right. But he's probably like secretly plotting, like, you should do this.
Probably
He kind of
was.
knows that you're
Yeah.
gonna, as somebody, I used to write advice columns. I know, yeah, you're kind of like
Yeah.
towards you, but anyway.
Exactly.
All right. So you get married. When did you get married? How old were you when you were married?
2006.
Okay,
So
so
we
that was
waited a while. Yeah. I
yeah,
was
you did for a long time.
29. Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to talk about that.
29.
I want to talk about when you first, so you're on this show, and then the show stops after a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
Right? And then you're kind of like lost a bit after that because you had so much of your
Yeah.
personality and your career was tied into that successful show. And then you're
Mhm.
kind of like, you did things like White Chicks. You got some cool roles, but you felt a bit lost at that time,
Yeah.
right? Like you moved to New York and
Yeah. New York was great though. It gave me a chance to like breathe away from Hollywood. And I really think like I wouldn't be the same person if I hadn't have gone to New York for a while, because I got married and then I left and we went to New York. It's like I really was able to just get away from that whole Hollywood machine and people like coming, like there's so much expectation on you, and there's so much like everybody's like all of the actors and stuff are like, what party did you get invited to? What audition did you get? And I was kind of like, I got away from that and I was really able to like find myself, and I was able to start erotic writing and everything and reading and studying. And I really was able to find myself in New York. And by the time I came back, I feel like I was more grounded, and I like had discovered myself a lot more, especially sexually.
yeah. And is that you? And that was because you were married by that time. By the time you
I was married. Yes, it was because I was married, and I really felt that that was a strong place where I could like branch out from and like test the waters and stuff, because I felt like I had a safe place back home. But it
right.
was also just being away, like in New York. It was being away and like just being away from the whole system that had like been with me since I was 16 years old, or 15, 16.
So you and John had, I guess, what we would call an open relationship.
No,
You
we
didn't.
don't have an open relationship.
Oh,
He
this is so
actually
cool.
has never been with another person, or since me.
Right,
No,
right.
he's not into it at all. He knows that I am in to sexual performance and to all of that. We don't have an open relationship in our like personal life. We don't
Oh, interesting.
like,
So it's we'll get I want to talk
yeah.
about this because your relationship is so fascinating to me. So so
And we've been together longer than most of my friends. They get
I
all
know it's,
divorced.
it's longer than most Hollywood
I
marriages.
know.
All right, so it kind of starts with you with Snapchat or something. What's the beginning of where you kind of start transitioning and being more
I would say I was
public?
already thinking more sexually. Like I was like opening up about my like erotic writing and erotic stories and stuff like that. I was kind of like fantasizing about things. But yes, I was on Snapchat and Instagram and stuff, and I kept getting kicked off because for like a shadow of a nipple or something.
Wow.
Like
Yeah.
because I was like really I discovered that I liked, like I was kind of an exhibitionist, and I liked that, and I liked doing naughty pictures and shocking people. So I discovered that early on. So I kept getting kicked off because of that, even though it wasn't really bad. But it was like, oh, we think you might be naked in the future of this picture. Like,
Yeah. You're
that
one
actually is a
inch
reason.
away. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so that's interesting. So what do you think it was about that sort of exhibitionism that you like so much? Again, does it go back to your past with kind of like we had to repress it for so long, so now you're just like,
Maybe I just really like shocking people and like getting them to stand at attention, I guess.
Yeah.
And it was fun for me to be sexy finally after all these years on my own terms. So I really enjoyed that aspect out of that, and my fans were enjoying it. It was interesting in the beginning, like when my social media really took off though when Girl Meets World, the spinoff from Boy Meets World, was announced. And I had very little social media following. And I thought actually I'd taken screenwriting at UCLA for a couple of years, and I'd done a lot of writing. I thought I would be a writer. I thought I'd
Yeah, I
just like
love it.
write scripts.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought I would do that, and maybe I'd be in them, but maybe not. I don't know. But then I was just Girl Meets World came around, and we
Yeah.
were like, there was a lot of renewed interest in the cast and in the stories and everything. And it wasn't really a contrived effort by me, but I was like, when I got more interest on my social media, I was like, I'm not going to be a phony person anymore. I'm not going to like pretend that I'm not somebody. Like, I'm just going to be myself. I'm going to be my authentic self and see if people like it and see if people respond. And they did. And I was like, wow, like I couldn't believe that people were responding to me like this. So I got more and more of them following, and that's kind of how it snowballed, I guess.
Yeah, like
But
how did it go from being like slightly sexy shots on Snapchat
slightly
to, like,
sexy, you're right.
to,
It was a
like,
long
Terry?
time.
That was a long time.
It was
'Cause
a long time.
eventually you're doing videos with that Terry is shooting, right? In the early days. That was
Yes.
crazy.
Yes.
Not Terry, John.
And he was the
John is
one.
shooting.
Yeah. And he was the one who eventually told me, I really think you need to do these videos with guys because you have all these fantasies that you have never acted out, especially since I had such a sheltered youth. I didn't have all the experiences that I wanted to have. And he really saw that like, maybe you should try this, and we can do it in a safe way, and we can do it in a controlled kind of way. We had two of the major porn star guys to do these videos with me in the beginning. And if it hadn't have gone so well with them, I mean, we're still such good friends to this day, and he loves them. And like, seriously, if it hadn't have gone that well, I don't know how my career would have turned out, but it was great.
So
they taught me so much.
So basically you guys set up a very safe environment where Terry's a camera John is a camera person.
Yes. John Terry. Yeah, whatever.
John Terry. Sorry. I keep saying Terry because I think
I call him Terry.
Yeah, in the book, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So John's a cameraman, and then you invite these kind of at this time, well-respected, very professional porn actors.
Yes.
And what does that mean? It just means they're very sweet.
Well, they've been in the business for 10, 15 years.
Right.
So it's like they know
what they're doing.
They know what they're doing. And also they're trusted because they've been in it so long.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I first did a blowjob with one just to ease into it.
Right.
I was so impressed with my work. I was like, I know how to give a blowjob on screen.
Very tough critic there. Yes.
It was just very exciting for me to be able to do that. Like, oh, wow. Because I love sexual performing, and I really quickly discovered, wow, I'm good at this. I can do this. And then when I did my first boy girl full on sex, it was with a guy named Danny Mountain, and he we did the whole thing. It went very fast. Like I thought there would be more lead up, but no, he picked me up, put me to the bed, and we did it.
Wow. And you don't remember very much of it.
I remember it. It's kind of like blurry a little bit, but I remember asking him later on, like, what did you remember about that? Because it was my first time. Like, you popped my porn cherry. And he's like, I remember that you weren't nervous at all.
Right.
And I was like, I went in all the way. Like
you committed. And you probably weren't nervous because, well, I guess you weren't thinking, wow, there's going to be millions of people that might see. You're just
there weren't millions of people watching that.
At that point.
First of all. It was my own content. So it was kind of controlled. And that was great. In the beginning, that was so great because it allowed me to experiment and to get comfortable with everything.
How can people access it? And it was like through Patreon, I think you said. Like, how did you...
it was through Patreon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Patreon. I was the #1 adult film creator. But adult to them meant just nudes. They didn't quite know that I did sex.
I was like, I didn't know that. I'm on Patreon. I didn't know that. Now it would have been, what is it called? What is it called?
OnlyFans?
OnlyFans. Now,
I'm big on OnlyFans now.
Yeah, you're big on OnlyFans, but there was no OnlyFans back then.
No, I guess there was, but I didn't know about it. I didn't even know about Patreon. My fans were like, hey, you should, because I kept getting kicked off because of my nipples and stuff, like just the hardness of my nipples through my shirt.
Wow.
And I was, so my fans were like, why don't you sell content? And I was like, what? I don't know. What's content? And I was thinking, well, maybe I'll make a couple $100. We can put it towards like a photo shoot or something, costumes, because I did a lot of cosplay. And then it was just like, I signed up okay, I don't know. I'm not going to mention it to anybody. And I had like 20 subscribers the next morning. And then by the end of the week, when I finally did announce it, I had like 2,800 subscribers. It was insane. I was like, people really want to see my nudes.
Wow. And that was cool for you. You weren't,
yeah,
like
it was absolutely cool. And they also wanted, it was cool because my fans are different. They're not like they just want to see nudes. They wanted to see me do cosplay stuff and do videos and do fun like setups and everything. So yeah, it was great because I was finally doing my own content and creating my own stuff.
It's not Boy Meets World scripted. Like,
no, it was finally whatever I wanted to do, I could create and people would buy it. And it was like, it was so empowering. It was
right.
so empowering.
When did you go from doing the kind of stuff on Patreon to a very limited fan group to kind of like branching out into like the world of porn where like many people can see you?
I think it was like, well, at first I did, of course, the nudes and stuff, which I was always comfortable with when I started that, because I was kind of like, oh, I'll do Playboy kind of stuff. And
yeah. Did you do Playboy?
Stuff.
You did.
I have done Playboy later on, much later on. But I think, well, we have to go back into the past because I used to do a lot of setups for press, like for press days. Like we did International Kiss a Ginger Day. And that is a day in January where gingers kiss each other.
Oh,
but
okay.
I was one year looking for a ginger to kiss, like to have like a cute little slumber party set up or do something, you know, fun with my photographer and stuff. And I found through a friend who was like a producer, he found a lesbian porn star named Elle Alexandra. And she's adorable. She's redhead, just fiery little cute thing. And we did a setup. We did first the slumber party stuff, and then we got naked at the end. And it those pictures were released later. But at the end of the shoot, she was like, "You are going to do something in the adult business because you were just too comfortable with this. You like it too much." And I was like, "No, I don't. I just had fun with you. I don't know about that." But skip to the future, I was starting my content and I was like, maybe Elle should come back and we should do something. And we did. And people really liked it and stuff. And it kind of evolved from there. And I did a lot of girl stuff. And then, I was wanting to do some boy stuff. And that's when my husband was like, I think you should look into it. And
it's pretty cool that, that he's so open to this. Like
he was very open. And it actually surprised me at the time, in a pleasant way, because I was like, I want to do stuff. There's certain things that you like that won't be done in a marital bedroom, like acrobatics and like group sex and all this stuff like that. You can't do dungeon stuff. Like,
not gonna work.
And so that was really cool that he was so open to that, because I was like, I want to try different things. And I
doesn't get jealous, huh? He doesn't get jealous.
No, you know what? He doesn't get jealous because it's such a controlled environment too.
Yeah.
Like when I'm with these, like seriously, these guys that I was with, like for my content stuff, they're talking about football ahead of time. Like they're
right. I've been actually on the set of a few. It's very not what you think it's going to be.
It's not what you think. It's like totally hanging out. Hey, like, and I've done a lot of things, like a lot of scenes and stuff. He doesn't come to the scenes like I do professionally, like for the studios, for Vixen and stuff. And
he doesn't come to watch.
No, he doesn't come to those. He only comes to my like content shoots and stuff to film stuff. He's a very good photographer.
Yeah.
He's a very good videographer.
I thought it was so funny that you guys early on, I just remembered this, had this safe word. They're like, you were like,
tilapia. He was so embarrassed by that. He was like, that's such a cheap fish.
It's a cheap fish, but you had it. So in case that first time or those early times you were uncomfortable, you would say tilapia and then you'd know and be able to.
And we didn't.
There was no tilapia.
It was fine. And it was like, it was kind of shocking how fine it was the first time. Like it was like, we were happy. And then, but it's an interesting thing when you're doing content with somebody. It's like, it's not like you're cheating on someone and you're in this intimate affair with them. You do the work and they're like, bye, you go home. Like,
right. So you separate like the sexual performance that you have with on film and then the sexual performance, obviously with your husband, like these are like different things.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. They're 100% different. 100% different.
And and so one is just like you see it as like a sort of performance art in a way.
It's like if you're a dancer or you're an ice skater or you're somebody who likes to, like, I see it kind of like a stage performance. It's like you enjoy it because you enjoy dancing or you enjoy ice skating or you enjoy, acting, but it still is a performance at the end of the day, even if it's realistic and stuff, like I do enjoy all of the sexual stuff that I do, but I am doing it for entertainment as well. So yeah, it's different. It would just like the sex that you have in real life is not like something that you'd consider you want to sell or you want to consider attractive. Like,
Yeah.
because people say, oh, I make a sex tape and it's so ugly. It's like, well, yeah, you're enjoying yourself, but it's not the same thing as making like a porn where you're, performing for an audience.
Right. So once you get pretty well known that you're doing porn now, it's not a secret thing that you're just doing with your husband, the press starts getting a hold of it, right? And like the media is gonna, like, this is like, as a journalist, this is like a huge story, like, because it's pretty, this doesn't happen very often that somebody.
No, people make sex tapes, but those are bullshit. So
those are bullshit. They're either not,
those are total
fake,
bullshit.
or they're, maybe in the very early days, like who knows if they were, but anyway, it doesn't matter.
Oh, right. If they have an old tape. Yeah.
Yeah. Like maybe the Pam Anderson thing. I don't know. But like,
oh yeah, hers. I don't think hers.
Yeah. I don't think hers.
Like Kim Kardashian.
Paris's and Kim Kardashian. I mean, Paris Hilton and Kim. Yeah. That was obviously men.
Yeah. She made a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So you did the opposite. You were like, you know what? I'm just going to do this. Like nobody's making me. I'm not even making a sex tape. I'm doing actual like real produced porn. So how did the press, the media react, and how did your fans react? Like, was it all positive, or was it like kind of a little bit?
I have had a lot of positive stuff. Like, I'm just going to say that I am thankful that my fans and the press have been so positive. But I have to say, the first time I did something really big, the press didn't know about it. Like, it was a viral moment with my fans because I did blacked.com and with Vixen, and it was like Barstool Sports did it, and like they picked it up and stuff, but it was a viral moment. It didn't go on all the big news sites or anything. Yeah. And when it happened on black.com, that really started my huge career with Vixen and Deeper and everything, because on that day, the website literally crashed and people were trying to see Rachel on black.com. And I was really proud of it, and I was like really happy to do it and stuff. But that same day, Caden Cross, who is a huge porn star in her own right, award-winning director and stuff, she had just started with Vixen, a brand called Deeper, and just like 4 months earlier, and she was filming the very first feature film. And Deeper is a thing that it's more of like a scripted thing. It's like feature films and like more of it's going to give you much more acting and filmmaking and everything with it. So she had just started doing the first feature film, and she lost her co-star, like her co-lead actress, and she thought she had to like can the project. And she went into Vixen on Monday morning and said, hey, I don't think I can do this project. We have a deadline because there's like a lot of stuff like coming up, and I don't know if I can do it. And she's like, and then they were like, why don't you talk to Maitland? She can act. And she was like, okay. And then we met at Starbucks, and the rest is history. We started on the film Drive, and that is the film that got all the press, because I was like, I'm proud of this film. I want to announce it to the press. And everyone told me, don't do it. They'll tear you down. They'll say that you're desperate and demean you and all this stuff. And I went to a journalist that I know, and listen, the rest is history, but they were so positive, like shocking headlines, but still very positive about everything. And
what was the most shocking headline? Do you remember any of the shocking?
Oh, but it was so innocently shocking. Like like Rachel does porn. It's like, who cares? Like, I don't care about that. But it was there was no demeaning headlines. There weren't. Like, it was all about just Rachel doing porn and Rachel doing. But I have to give it to the journalist who did the first story on it for In Touch. She wrote the headline like, this is her authentic journey. She's doing awesome. Congratulations to Maitland. And it was like, that really set the tone for it to come, everything to come. Yeah. It was really cool.
The timing, I guess, was good too, because like I feel like people are more open now.
Than
it would have been like, say, back in 2000 during the Spears. Can you imagine?
It would have been totally different.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But, people have a real impression of what the porn industry is like. We've watched like Boogie Nights and
I know.
You're like movies, right?
I do love Boogie Nights, but
Boogie Nights is a fantastic movie. It takes place also during a very different time.
Different,
But I think they have a impression. What do you think people would be most surprised to know about the industry that they don't like from the outside, that they wouldn't know? Like, going in? Like, I think
I
everybody
think
says,
just how normal the sets are. Like, it feels like any kind of independent film set. Like, it's not, we're not doing crazy things. There's not some old guy smoking a cigar, jerking
so you're
off as he watches.
doing blow off a pizza box in the back.
No.
Okay.
It's like, and everybody thinks like, oh, the crew must be just totally jerking off, and like no, they're waiting for lunch. They're mostly
Right.
bored with what we do.
They're like, let's get it over with, please.
They really are. It's like
That
really.
hard to zone the people out. Like, God, there's all these like, because I do some work, with some unions, and I know there's like these intimacy coordinators for the
The
intimacy
intimacy,
coordinators.
right.
And like, a lot of actors are really freaked out about doing sex scenes, and they have to, but like for you, it's obviously that's not as
But
much
you
of
know
it.
what's crazy? Porn has had like its version of intimacy coordinators forever. We always have to talk about everything beforehand. I
Right.
feel like when I did love scenes back in like on the soap days and like any movies I've done or whatever, we never talked about anything. I just had to go in there and just be like,
Right.
let's do it. I'm naked here.
So what do you mean? You go through, like, you'll meet with the actor or the actress and say, like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do these sequence of things. And that
yes. Well, we have to, like, when we do it on porn sets, we have to like say what positions we'll do. Like, reverse cowgirl,
right.
spoon, like, we kind of have to get around to like which ones we're going to do, because it also has to coincide with the photos that we take. Like, there's photos.
They're always
along the
taking
way.
photos during it.
Yes. We
Yeah.
don't take it during it, but we have to take it separately, but we kind of have to, kind of
stop.
match it up along the way. But yeah, we'll tell each other ahead of time our no's, our do and don't lists. Like, it's all talked about. Like, I feel like when I was 16 years old on the soap opera, I was taken advantage of way more than
Yeah.
I've ever been taken advantage of on a soap set.
I always wonder, like, is it timed, or like if you're saying like you're doing a 20-minute scene?
Yeah, it is kind of
we're going to do reverse cowgirl for 5 minutes, and then we're
yes, it is.
like
It
choreograph.
actually is.
Okay.
Yes. It's usually it's usually like 45 minutes, but like,
Yeah.
so imagine doing 45 minutes of sex, how tired you'd be. You have to be in a very good shape to do
Yeah.
that.
You
But
work out and train, and
sometimes like usually about over halfway through, like, so maybe the guy will be hot. Like, they'll be like, we didn't take a break. Let's just get some water for everybody. Like, but yeah, usually they're like, okay, we need 5 more minutes of this, and we need to like tie it up here. And the cum shot, which is the most important shot, is actually we stop because we have to get the cum shot. We cannot just have it willy-nilly. We can't, it can't just, like, we have to get it on camera. So we usually like stop the scene and then get the guy ready to do it, like however it's going to be done.
that's a lot of pressure on the guy.
Yes. I mean, I am always in awe of these guys. Like, girls can like handle it a little better. Like, guys have to like perform.
They have to. What is it like? What was the industry like during COVID? Like, and like now monkeypox, did everything just close down for years?
Well, no, we actually made one of the biggest feature films around during the middle of COVID, better than mainstream, because we are so used to testing, and we're so used to like, as an industry of always like, protocol. And I remember, God, during COVID, when we said, okay, we're going to make this big feature film that we're going to do, Muse. And oh my God, every single day we had to test, even if you weren't working. Like, you might have been working Monday, Wednesday, and you had to come in every morning at 7 and test. And they were really good about it at Vixen, because they got a penthouse downtown LA. So everybody would just have to basically live there, like, without sleeping there. But basically nobody else, and you had to sign like saying that you wouldn't work anywhere else or anything.
Yeah.
So they were very good.
Yeah, people are because I would wonder if you like are nervous about people being promiscuous, but it almost seems like people are even more trustworthy than like somebody
I know.
at a bar or something.
People think that, porn, it must be so dirty and everybody has STDs. No, we have to get tested every 2 weeks.
Right.
So it's like, I think it's one of the most trustworthy kind of groups. And because we rely on it. And also, if people are going to be stupid like that and like be promiscuous and, go out there and like do stupid stuff, they have to rely on this for work. This is their livelihood. So they have to stay healthy, kind of. So,
Yeah.
And also, if somebody does get something, like say somebody got an STD that was like, I don't know, but they can notify everybody else, because everybody knows like who, so you take your antibiotics or whatever people do, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a
Um,
much more trustworthy industry in that way.
all right. You wrote this book. Are there any more? And you used to write erotic fiction.
Yes.
Did you enjoy it? And what was the process like for you? Did you have help on the book, or did you do it all?
No, I had no help. Well, I have a wonderful editor. She
Yeah.
was great. Because I had many more stories, and she was so good at like getting me. But no, and most people have ghostwriters. Most
No, of course. Most
celebrity
celebrities do.
authors.
I've ghostwritten many books for people.
You have really?
Yeah, including
Oh
Dr.
my
Phil.
gosh. Oh my gosh, is that I feel so bad for ghostwriters because they don't get the credit they deserve.
Oh, I don't care because I get credit in other ways, but I have,
Yeah.
but no, I mean, at a certain
I
time.
did not ghostwrite it. I wrote
Yeah, no, I'm so
everything.
impressed that you did it
Yeah.
yourself because that's hard to do. And how long did it take you to do it?
It took me about 4 or 5 months.
Okay.
5 months
Wasn't
total.
terrible.
And then
Had you been keeping a journal and stuff? Like, how did you remember some of those things?
No, you know what's weird about me though? I remember everything. I'm seriously, and I remember birthdays. Like I remember.
Are you one of those people that
I'm one of those people. Yes.
everything that happened? Like, not one of those. Not like
I remember everything, and people are like, "You're so annoying. You remember this?" Like, and I really do. My husband's always annoyed. Like, you remember everything from my past, every fight, everything.
Right. That's very
And
frustrating.
I'm like, yes, I do. But
That's
I literally remember everyone's birthday. Like if you told me your birthday right now,
all
I
right.
would remember
July
it.
5th. I expect. No, I don't
What
know.
is it? What is
July
it?
5th.
July 5th. July 5th. That's close to my dog's birthday, but
Okay, so that's how you.
July 8th.
Is that how you do it? Because actually,
I will remember you. No, and sometimes I don't remember names, but
Yeah.
I'll be like July 5th.
Right. It's interesting because I just did an interview on my podcast last week with a guy who was like a memory expert and about how to, but that's like one of the things he does. He like you make an association really quickly in your brain.
Yeah.
So then you are going to remember it the next day.
Yeah, I do. I remember numbers. I remember childhood phone numbers.
Is there anything that you don't like about being in the adult industry? It sounds fun.
You know what? I don't like that people look down on it or look down on
Yeah.
people. Like, I don't like the taboo of it. Like, well, it's kind of exciting for me, the taboo of it, because I do like to shock people a little bit. But I really hate that people are looked down on, like other performers where they don't have maybe the status that I have, like where they can be like, I don't care if you're looking down on me. I'm having fun. It makes me sad, like some of the young girls and stuff that are involved in the industry, and everybody thinks, oh, the industry tears them down. But honestly, it's not the industry, it's the outside people that are like throwing shame at them. It's amazing. Some of these girls, they are making such good money. They're supporting themselves through school.
Yeah.
And they're like, they're totally being successful, and maybe they want to do something later in life, but people are like, they tear them down for this.
What do you say to the argument like that a feminist might say, well, you're objectifying yourself, you're using your body to make money? Like, what do you say to that?
Yeah, but I'm like, I'm objectifying myself. I'm empowering myself. I mean, maybe if I was being forced to do something that I didn't want to do, but it's different when you're like doing it yourself and you're like, and also some of these young girls, they're just like so empowered with their sexuality. I would have never been at that age at 22 or something, you know, I would have never been able to do that. But I'm like, I'm making money with my body, but I'm having so much fun, and I'm able to have my own business and my own like content, and I'm creating all my own stuff. It's like, listen to me. After the age of 40, who would have said that a Disney star could have been a top porn star, making more money than she ever made, could be respected as an actress again, and also be an author of a book? And like and I'm writing and directing scenes for the sites and stuff, and like, what?
It's awesome. And I'm so glad that you're so jazzed about it and fired up and positive about it. What's next? Like, what happens when you're 50? Like, do you keep like, do you even know yet?
You know what? I don't know. Cause if you would have told me at 30, like what would have happened at 40, I would have never believed in a million years.
This is 40. Yeah.
Yeah. But I do say, I love writing, and I really like writing and directing scenes too and stuff. So I think I really believe that mainstream and porn can come together in some way.
Well, the Maitland Ward story is definitely like a, seems like an HBO story.
Oh, I would love to make my story on HBO.
Yeah.
I don't even have to play it. Like, you could just,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I would love like just to sell my rights to my story and stuff. And I just think there'd be like mainstream and porn, like to have like a movie that has some sex in it. Maybe not full 45-minute scenes, but like 4-minute scenes, where you see a little action.
Yeah. Well,
where it's really
yeah,
hot.
like a streaming series where they have.
Yes, a streaming series that would be
Yeah.
have a little sex in it if you want to. Yeah.
Right. Right. Well, Maitland, this has been so interesting. You're such a pleasure to meet.
Fun.
Yeah, you're awesome, and I really enjoyed reading your book, and I recommend it highly. What's it called? I don't have it in front of me now. What is it called?
Rated X.
It's called
How Porn Liberated Me from Hollywood.
Rated X: How Porn Liberated Me from Hollywood.
Yes.
You would think it would be the opposite, how Hollywood liberated me for porn, but you've told you've told the
Are you kidding me?
counterintuitive.
There's worse people in Hollywood, I can promise you.
That is saying something. That's pretty bad. So I really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you so much for doing the podcast.
Yes, thank you so much. You're wonderful. You're wonderful
Okay.
host.
Thank you. You're a great guest. Thanks. Thanks, Maitland. Take care. I'll let Brian know when this runs. And
Oh,
stuff.
perfect. That's
Okay.
perfect. Thank you
So
so
great
much.
to meet you.
Mwah.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.